going to talk about this documentary on Gram Parsons. This is the definitive version of his life. It's pretty well comes from all different angles, from his family to all the people he knew, rock stars and whatnot. So it gives two sides to the story, which is good. It's not just one sort of self-destructive thing that, of course, Gram Parsons was on that sort of path, but this sort of tells a lot of different stories. There's a lot of different interviews throughout this. There's Keith Richards, who was a big influence, and Chris Hillman, of course, was a major influence. And we have Pamela DeBars and Bernie Leadon later on in the second album by Flying Burrito Brothers. And then we have Emmylou Harris, which was very influential in his solo career. And Phil Kaufman, his road manager, who definitely came into the picture a lot of times. And we have different members of the Burrito Brothers and even the International Submarine Band. There's a couple of members there that are interviewed. So, and James Burton from Elvis's band, Richard Burton. And Gram came from a lot of money on his mother's side, so he always had a trust fund, which was one of the problems that he had, because he didn't really have to earn a living from music. And his family, his father committed suicide at an early age, and his mother was alcohol, so there was a lot of alcoholism in his family. And he saw Elvis when he was really young, like 10 years old, and of course he wanted to become a rock star. And when he was 16, he formed a rock and roll band. And when he went to college, he was influenced by country music, which somebody turned him on to, and he formed the International Submarine Band. And they put out one album called Safe at Home. And then he met Chris Hillman when he was in the International Submarine Band. And Chris asked him to join the Byrds. They were a member or two short. So he recorded this album with them. This is Sweetheart of the Rodeo. And a lot of people say this is sort of where country rock began. And there's a lot of truth to that. Although the International Submarine Band was really country rock. So with the Byrds, he went on tour in England. And there's a really great clip of them. I think it's like a video, and they're doing they're doing Mr. Spaceman, man. And I haven't seen the clip before this video, so it's quite interesting. And then he also met Keith Richards there. And the Byrds were supposed to go to South Africa, and Keith Richards kind of said, it's not a good idea to go to South Africa at that time. So he stayed behind, and that was his short tenure in the Byrds. So from there, him and Chris left the Byrds, and they formed the Flying Burrito Brothers. And there's a really great clip of them out in the desert, like a video clip of them out in the desert filming the cover for the first Flying Burrito Brothers. They have their nudie suits on and a couple of chicks, and it's quite interesting. And this is a twofer. It sort of combines both covers. He was with the Flying Burrito Brothers for 2 albums. And their first tour, they went on a train. That was Gram's idea. And of course it was just a big party, and there's some video of them on the train, and it's quite funny, actually, quite interesting. But they weren't prepared to play when they came into to a place to play, and so it all kind of went to hell in a basket. And then they recorded the second album. Bernie Leadon joined the band, and he has a perspective on the whole thing. Gram's alcohol and drug abuse was started to really affect his performances. They became very erratic. He wouldn't practice, didn't turn up, he was late, blah, blah, blah. And of course, he was fired by Chris Hillman for erratic behavior. So Gram went on to do 2 solo albums, and they're both on a twofer on this. So really, you can pretty well sum up his career on record with these 3 CDs, 2 twofers and the Sweetheart of the Rodeo. So From there, we have, well, his 2 solo albums. He got Elvis's band together with James Burton, and they did basically 2 albums over the course of time. Gram was very screwed up at this time, and his drug and alcohol abuse pretty well derailed everything. Emmylou came into the picture somewhere in the his first solo album. Chris said, "There's this chick up in wherever she lived, I can't remember, and you gotta go talk to her, see her." And he did, and of course that started their relationship with the band and everything. So they went out on tour to promote the first Gram solo album, and of course, just like the Flying Burrito Brothers, they weren't prepared. Everything went to hell in a basket, just like the Flying Burrito Brothers. They weren't prepared. Emmylou didn't know what the hell was going on, because she thought, is this the way people, go out and perform haphazardly? Their songs wouldn't have any beginning, they wouldn't have any end. So his second solo album, Grievous Angel, which is a great album. I listened to all his solo stuff and his band stuff a lot in the early 70s. So they went on tour for the second album, and Emmylou put her foot down, and she's in the interview saying, "We're going to rehearse and actually have beginnings and endings to the songs." So the tour became more cohesive, and there's a little bit of footage of that in there too, showing them on stage. And it's too bad they didn't have like a full concert or something when he was performing, because the 2 of them together made a unbelievable, the harmonies and everything. So when he died, he had a pact with his Phil Kaufman, his road manager. They hung out a lot together, and he was kind of his, kept him supposedly kept them in line, sort of thing. So they had a pact that if Gram died, he would be taken out into the desert and cremated. So there's a lot of detail in this. Phil Kaufman tells his whole story, and the other side, his family, Gram's family, show another side about this whole incident where he went to the plane. He was and said, claimed the body, took him out to the desert, poured gasoline on the casket, and blah blah blah, and it was like, oh my God. So this film is unbelievable. It really tells the story of Gram Parsons in a very tight movie. Everything falls into place, and all the interviews are there. Now, some of the songs that were written about Gram, I have here. Crazy Eyes by Poco, written by Richie Fiore, is a very long, epic kind of song, and it's about Gram Parsons. And Bernie Leadon, he also wrote a song called My Man, which is on the Eagles' On the Border. And Emmylou wrote a song called, I only have one album, I got rid of so many albums, it's unbelievable. This is called Boulder to Birmingham, which is a tribute to Gram Parsons. So if you can find this movie or whatever, watch it, because it's well worth the time. So long. And it's pretty well the definitive version of Gram Parsons on Gram Parsons.